All right, welcome to the Sweet Talk. Today is Monday, January 6th, 2020. Happy New Year. And this is the second show of the new year. And my name is Kimatina. I am your host. I am a Google certified trainer and educator and a technology teacher. And I am a gold product expert for the Google for Education team. And today I have on the show Miss Katie Nieves.
Nieves.
Nieves. I'm so sorry. I should have asked you that before. Katie Nieves. And Katie comes to you from New Jersey. So I am from New Jersey as well. And I'm in South Jersey. And Katie is all the way up in North Jersey, Northwest New Jersey. And she's a special education teacher in the middle school there. So right there, we have a lot in common. And she's a Google certified trainer and Google certified educator as well. So thank you for being on, Katie.
Thank you for having me.
So why don't you, tell us a little bit about yourself and your role in the middle school that you teach at.
Okay. So I teach at Sparta Middle School, like you said, in Northwest New Jersey, just about as far north as you can go. Have taught 6th through 8th grade. This year I'm teaching 6th, 7th, and 8th grade, so all in 1 year. I mostly do a lot of language arts, resource room, and class support. I actually do reading intervention too, based in the Orton-Gillingham model. But I've done in-class support for other subjects. I just did physics and chemistry last year for in-class support, which was super fun to co-teach. And I've done history and, again, a lot of language arts. So I've kind of been all over the place in terms of special education in the middle school level. It's my favorite level, honestly. But I love all my 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. So it's been really nice.
Yeah, the middle school levels are very interesting. I'm in middle school as well, and I do love it as well. But it could be challenging too. It's a tricky age, but it's all good. That's why we're there, to help these youngsters become young, mature adults. And it's nice to see that you were in class support for all different subject areas. So it's nice to see that you have a lot to offer as far as the content and what you use to align the tech with the content. So I'm really, curious to hear what you did and what you're doing and what Chrome apps and extensions you are using to leverage the learning platform for some of the special education students.
Yeah, that's been my favorite part of the in-class support process. I mean, especially considering, language arts is my specialty, but, having to make myself a role in the science and history classes where the content isn't my area of expertise, it's kind of defaulted to being almost like a tech support to give the students the accessibility tools and features that they need. So that's been a nice aspect from the in-class support setting. And that's kind of where I got started with the whole Chrome extensions issue. I found that when I first started, a lot of my middle schoolers were so reluctant to accept the modifications and accommodations that they got through their IEP. Middle school is so hard, so I think they were kind of afraid to use them for fear of standing out more than their classmates. So that's kind of how I got started in the Google for Education, area, you could say, because I was trying to find a way to get my kids the support they needed while still maintaining their privacy, helping them feel comfortable in the classroom, and allowing them to use those supports without feeling like they were kind of on display and everybody knew they were getting something a little different. That's kind of where I got it started off, actually.
So what are some of the Chrome apps and extensions that you found that are helpful? Because it is such an important area to address, not only Chrome apps and extensions, but even Chromebook accessibility features. I don't know if you're a Chromebook school district or if you're just using a different device, but Chromebook accessibility features as well as Chrome apps and extensions can really do wonders for students who have special needs and IEPs. So yeah, I definitely want to hear what you have to say because I've I've been given PD on accessibility features on the Chromebook for people at my school district, and they are amazed with what's available just in there. And I don't want to go off topic because I want to hear what you have to say about Chrome apps and extensions. But it's definitely something that we need to address.
So we actually, when I started off, we weren't a Chromebook school yet. We just had kind of a sporadic number of laptops in the room. We did go one-to-one. I think this is our third year. So now all my students do have Chromebooks, which has made it a lot easier since they kind of have one place to go for all their extensions, and it goes with them to all their classes instead of having to, use a classroom laptop, which has been really nice and helpful. But I have a whole bunch, I guess you could say, of tools that I use. Obviously, I'm not going in and adding 35 extensions to all my students' computers. It's in the beginning, a lot of looking at the students, looking at the IEP, watching them in the classroom and really seeing what they need. It's a lot of one-on-one discussions too with the students. What would help you the most? What do you think will benefit you in this class? What are you struggling with? And kind of going from there. I started off with maybe like 2 or 3 that I knew offhand, and it really branched out from there based on what my students needed on an individual basis. To be honest, the first one that really started off was the need for reading text aloud. As like simple as that sounds, that was the biggest struggle right away, was the fact that they needed somebody to read things out loud to them. That was a support system in their IEP, but they didn't want to necessarily be pulled out of the classroom to have it read to them. And if the other teacher wasn't reading it out loud in an inclusion setting, they felt kind of uncomfortable. So that really kind of kicked off my interest in the Chrome extensions. We started off with, I think it was called Select to Speak, which actually is the name of the feature on the Chromebook now, to the accessibility feature, that they can just kind of click and listen to what's on their computer. I found that with text to speech, though, that's where my students tend to be the most picky, which understandably, they're listening to the voice, they want it to be just so. So that's kind of the area where I've built a whole bunch, besides the Select to Speak, of other text to speech extensions that they could add and kind of play around with. In the beginning of the year, it's really, for the students that need that, it's a lot of trial and error. Which platform do you like? What's easy for you to use? A lot of my students lean toward Read Aloud, which is an extension that gives a little bit more customization because they can change the pitch, which I didn't really think too much about. I was like, okay, well, the voice might bother them. Maybe they'll switch the voice. They can switch the speed, slow or fast, depending on what they need. But the pitch was interesting. So they really kind of gravitated toward Read Aloud because they could change the pitch in addition to the speed and the voice. But that was kind of where we really started off, because that was the first need that I found for my students. So there was a lot of playing around with the text-to-speech features, and a lot of have popped up in the last couple of years as well. But that kind of tends to be the most popular one, other than the accessibility one built in the Chromebook now, is the Read Aloud. The other one that I really love and my students really take advantage of is they're so into speech to text too, the ability to use their voice to type. If you've ever sat in or listened to one of my classes, I'll say something and then like 12 other voices will pop up and they'll all be talking into their Chromebooks at the same time, because that's just how they operate. It's easier for them than typing it sometimes. But Google Docs had voice typing built in, which was beautiful for typing essays and open-ended, and that was great. But then in other places on the computer, there really wasn't that opportunity. And I was really trying to find an extension that would allow my students to just kind of click, use their voice to type, and it would input it automatically. So my students tend to like voice-in voice typing for responding on Google Forms or Google Classroom, like if you have a question forum going on, or really anywhere else outside of Google Docs or even the speaker notes in Google Slides where it's already built in. It kind of gives them the option on their Chrome browser to type wherever they want. So they've kind of gravitated toward that one as well.
And you said that's called voice-in?
Voice-in voice typing.
Voice-in voice typing. Okay.
Yeah. It's an interesting one. They really like that one because they feel like they can use their voice to type anywhere and they're not limited to just that one kind of specific space. Like voice typing in Docs, though, you have to still, tell them to use punctuation and things like that because it doesn't automatically do it, but it's still a pretty good one for them. And the nice part about starting to use these was I was trying to find free ones first, because I really wanted to see if this is something the student really needs, if they needed a more significant version that I could justify, going into an IEP meeting and saying, maybe we should add this into the IEP and get like a paid version. But it was nice to kind of have that free version for all of these tools to kind of try out first and the student can use it and see whether or not they like it, and maybe the free version was sufficient. But it's nice to know that, you know, that support system is working. So aside from speech to text and text to speech, which tend to be the biggest two, I have a lot of students who need frequent breaks, but try to manage that in in-class support setting, where maybe a student doesn't feel like raising their hand to tell you they need a break, or you going over them to tell them to take a break if they're, you know, a little overwhelmed with the amount of work or writing or reading. We actually use the extension called Take a Break. And what it does is I can add it to the student's Chromebook and enable it to go off at certain points in time. It doesn't have a sound unless you have your sound on, and a notification pops up on the student's individual screen that tells them to kind of stand up and take a break, and that's their signal to themselves that they need to get up and kind of walk around. For my students that are, you know, in inclusion settings where their classmates might be working, you know, quietly in a desk for an extended period of time, they still need that, you know, maybe that time to get up, get a drink of water, kind of de-stress a little bit, and this kind of allows them to do that without being so on display, because nobody really knows they're getting the notification on their computer. It just goes to them. I could see it if I wanted, if I looked over at their device, but it's more private, and they've really appreciated that. So that was Take a Break. And we also used one of my students, not one of them, I shouldn't say one, a couple this year, more so in the past, have been really into Noisily. And what we use that for is focusing. So it's an extension that is kind of a white noise generator, because a lot of the times in either my research room or in inclusion settings, they'll be allowed to work with their headphones on, they'll put them on because their classmates are, but YouTube, I know for me anyway, even personally, YouTube tends to be a big distraction when you're trying to work, because all of a sudden you're, you know, sucked into the abyss of YouTube and you're watching videos and trying to pull up your song, and it really distracts from what you're trying to do. So I put some of my students on Noisily, and what it allows them to do is create their own white noise maker. So it can have rain and the wind and running water, which is super weird, and I don't know why anybody would want to listen to running water while they're working, but it's an option. And they can kind of customize it to their own intensity, and it helps to increase their focus. They have pre-made playlists that kind of work toward creating almost a productive, like a master productivity playlist. Like, it's supposed to be ones that encourage productivity that students can use, and it kind of gives them that, it pulls them into their work away from the outside distractions, but it's not overly distracting within itself. So we've really liked that one in my classroom too. And it's really nice as well in the inclusion settings when you're popping in your headphones, no one knows what you're listening to, and the students kind of pick and choose from there what they want to help keep them focused for that period.
You know, that's interesting that you are using that at an individual level, because I actually use very similar tools like that, but as a whole group. So to compare what you, because I'm taking notes while you're speaking. So like you had Take a Break. I never used that before, so I'm going to check that out. I've used Move It. Did you ever try that? And
Yeah.
that's kind of like for a whole group.
Yeah.
To get them up and moving. So like that you set a timer, and then it'll come up with like a random exercise every like 10 minutes or 15 minutes, and then you do that exercise and then you move on. And then so that I did do that with students, and they did like that. But I like to Take a Break because it's just more individual.
Yeah, that's what I was really looking for. I do really like the Move It, and I failed horribly at trying to get it on their computers a couple years back, like at the individual level, because they were all doing different things at different times. But I like it better for the whole class. It does work for the whole class really nice. But having one student jump up and down, then 5 minutes later, the other one was like pacing back and forth, and I was like, maybe I should put that as a whole class activity instead. But
yeah, no, I mean, you live and learn, right?
Yeah, trial and error.
It is. And then you had said Noisely. So I've used a Soft Murmur website.
Oh.
And it's the same thing. It's a white noise generator tool that you can set up for different sounds, like like rain and thunder, and I've used that as a whole group, like when the kids come back from lunch or from gym, and this is middle school too. This is not elementary school. And it does seem to tend to calm them down. It's kind of like a meditation.
That's nice. I like the way you put that. Yeah, it is really, it's for me, I felt like it was so much better for them than just having random songs on as they were listening if they were working, because then it became more about let's pick the right song as opposed to let's kind of, calm down and focus on what we're doing. And it's been helpful for that. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I don't let the kids listen to music while they're in my class. Some teachers do, and then they're on YouTube and they're looking for their songs. But as a whole group, I'll do the a soft murmur website, and there's other ambient sound websites that you can use. But I found that one to be easy to just do it quick and set it up.
Well, I'll have to look at that then for the whole class. That'd be really nice. I like
Yeah,
that whole coming in after lunch thing. That's really nice because I have students right after lunch, and there's always needs to be that calm down period beforehand.
calm down. Exactly. So what else do you have up your sleeve there, Missy?
Oh, there's so much. I have so many that focus just on the reading too, which I know I'm a language arts person, but they've really helped out in the history and the science classes, especially. We have, I think as a whole, so much more focus now on reading and writing in the content areas aside from just English. So we have one of my favorites. I personally love it. The kids love it too. I have people hit or miss tell me they don't like it, but it's called auto highlight. And what it allows you to do,
auto highlight.
And what it allows you to do is if you have any article open on your Chrome browser and you activate the extension by clicking on it, it's really cute. It looks like a little highlighter. You click on it and it highlights the most important details in the article itself. And then you can click on it a second and I think a third time, and it'll highlight just what's important. Sometimes if the article's a little short, it might only click one or two because it doesn't want to highlight the whole thing. So the length of the article depends on how many times you can really click on the extension to get more highlights. But I really like it because it's not summarizing it for the students. While there are tools like that I have for some students as well, it kind of brings their eye to the most important details as they're reading. So for my students who might have difficulty focusing on a longer text, even when they're listening to it, it kind of draws their eye to the points that they really should be focusing on and helps them kind of remember them a little bit. It's also a little bit easier for them to track as well. I think it's cool because it's just right within the text. It's not like a pop-up window. It's right within the actual page on the Chrome browser. And my students really seem to like it. They also like that on the icon, the highlights go down until the highlighter is empty, and then they know they can't click anymore. So it's kind of visual that way too.
That's cool. Now, does it highlight the same color as many times as you click, or is it different colors?
It's yellow every time.
Okay, so if they click the second, yeah, I mean, if they click the second time, it's still yellow.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, that's okay. That's good because it'll like you said, it'll bring their eye to the most important detail. And it's not creating a different document. It's not popping up anything. It's right within that article.
Yeah, it's right there, right in that one place, which has been really great because there are so many times in history that we're reading a current events article or even a primary document that's been typed up or something. It's nice to have kind of that to make it a little bit easier to manage for the students. So they can pair that with a text-to-speech and they have two support tools right there all in one for them.
Yeah, definitely. Anything else you have up your sleeve?
I could talk about it all day. We really like, probably the next one would be, it's actually made by Google. Most of these aren't Google made, but I'm always on the hunt for just trying out things that would work for my students. And, I see if it works and then I add it to their computer. But this one is from Google itself. It's Google Dictionary. And so a lot of the times my students will kind of run out to a new tab to search for a word because in the ICS setting, they might be unlikely to raise their hand and say, I don't know what that word means, which, I mean, understandably, most students don't want to admit initially until they get more comfortable if they don't know what a word means. But what it allows them to do is double click on any word. It defines it for them automatically, right within the pop-up. It pops up right above the word. It tells them what the word means. They can listen to the definition and then kind of keep reading. So if they're reading as a class or they're reading independently, they hit the double click, it defines it, and then they can just keep going from there. What I like about it too is for your ELL learners, they also allow you to switch it out so that the translation comes up in the language of your choice as well. So it doesn't have to just be the definition in English. It could be the word and the definition in whatever language that you select. So
And that'll work on all of any website?
Any website on the Chrome browser, yes.
Okay. All right. That's good to know. I've never used that one. So I'm going to explore that one as well.
That's been helpful. And I think you can pair it with, my students have done it before, flashcards for Google Dictionary, which in addition to the pop-up window, it has like a little save button, and it'll save that word and the definition as a flashcard, and they can kind of review all the words they didn't know initially, and it will show them again as they were playing with the flashcards. It's almost like a game. The word, the definition, and also where the word came from initially, so it shows them in context as well. Just, a little bit of extra vocab fun, which, some people don't think vocab is fun, but I thought that was pretty cool.
And they're free, right?
Yes, these are all free. Yeah, I tried. My big thing is to try out all the free options that I can, or freemium at least. And my students, we don't pay for any of these. They're all free.
And then, so you install these for the students, or do you like instruct them to do it? Like, so download it from the Chrome Web Store or search the Chrome Web Store, download it, and install it.
That's how we usually do it. So my school has it set up so that the teacher can go in and recommend extensions or add-ons that we want for students. So I'll go in at the beginning of the year and say, like, these are the ones I want added to our school-specific Chrome Web Store. And then students are free to download anything they want within that approved list. So I'll tell them, like, this will be a really good tool for you for this or this reason. They'll download it, try it out. They can remove it on their own if they don't like it. They can try another one from the list. I kind of have a running list for my students of the support systems and then tools that will work for it that they can download. That way, as they get more comfortable, they tend to be like, I don't like this one as much. I want to try this one, and kind of play around, especially because my sixth graders are the first year they have a Chrome they can take home. So initially they're a little nervous about it, and they just kind of download what I tell them to. At this point in the year, usually they're like, I don't like this one anymore. I'm going to try a new one. But yeah, they can download it on their own as long as it's approved. I show them how to do it once, and then usually they can pick it up back from
there. Okay, that's good. I actually push Chrome extensions out through the domain so that all the students get the same Chrome extensions available to them. And then if they want to download, something in addition to, they have the access to do that. But we don't have it set up in our domain that we have a domain Chrome Web Store, just, for them to safely download. That might be something that I need to ask you about. That's something totally different than, I've never heard of that before in the admin console.
It works pretty well. I'm not sure. I have to see how they set it up, but it works pretty well because then the students know, any of these, and there's a whole bunch of them, like any of these are available for you and they're safe to try and they're safe to, yeah.
And that's kind of like how YouTube works in the admin console too. Like, the teacher has to approve the video or the channel, and then it gets added to a list, and then that channel or video is available for the students to view. So that it sounds very similar to that. It's just my school doesn't have it set up that way. But that's good to know. I mean, I'm going to actually look into that as well, because it's good to have the kids download stuff.
Yeah, I think so too. It's good for them to really, and that's really kind of what my whole goal with this too is, not only just to provide them their supports, but also have them acknowledge the fact that this is helpful for them, or if it's not helpful for them, especially getting into like almost the high school age, learning how to find other ways that might be more beneficial for you, because they're starting to get into their IEP meetings by the end of 8th grade usually. So it's nice for them to be able to say, this is something that works for me because I've tried it, and this doesn't work for me, but this does, and I found this tool. And so it's, all about them kind of taking ownership for what they need.
Yeah, and then when they go to high school next year, they have that tool in their belt where they can, install that and use it and tell their teachers, hey, I need this. Can we get this on for me to use? So they're being an advocate for themselves at that point.
Yeah.
Because when they get to high school, they're not going to hold their hand. They kind
Exactly.
of need to know, like, this is what you need to do. You got to be independent, and you have to advocate for yourself.
Exactly. And it kind
Yeah,
of helps them push them in that direction.
definitely. I agree. And it's funny, like, did you ever try Mercury Reader?
Yes, we do use Mercury Reader. I switch between that one and Just Read because there's always, the students are very picky about the things they download, so I try to find as many, like I said, as I can. But we do use Mercury Reader as well to kind of eliminate the ads.
Yeah, I like Mercury Reader. It's a good one.
It is a good one. And Just Read kind of does the same, it does the same thing too. It's like, they will, take away the ads, take away the comments, which I like because the comments are sometimes
Yeah.
not really something you need to look at, and it keeps, the text features that are important, which I love. So
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And one more I'd like to mention too, like, because you're talking about YouTube and this and that. I use DF YouTube, so distraction free YouTube. So it takes away all of the ads and the comments, and it just displays the YouTube video on the screen. So that could be used for special education students, and even any all students, because all of those things around the video is distracting.
oh
So
yeah. Oh,
that's
definitely.
that's a good one to try out too.
I'll have to try that for sure. I do like that. I love YouTube has so many accessibility tools even built in that make it such a great tool for students to use. I just found the other day they have the closed captioning, but they have every video has a transcript too of all the closed captioning, the open transcript, and the students can kind of click on the words and go to that point in the video. And I'm like, I love that that's just built in for them, especially if they're watching a longer video. It's so nice to have that support system with them too.
Yeah, definitely. I agree. They've come a long way with it, and they're still, evolving, but so far they've come a long way. And it's a shame that some schools do block YouTube.
Yeah.
I understand, the reasons why, and again, these kids and this generation, they're on YouTube more often than not. And, we have to use it as a learning platform. So, we have to evolve with it as well.
Oh, definitely. I mean, it's so easy for them to hop on. I mean, even we're reading texts and talking about topics, and they're like, I don't know what that is. And they'll just pull it up on YouTube and watch a quick 30-second video about what we're learning about. And that's great. It's building their background knowledge, and they have such easy access to it.
Yeah, I agree. We have YouTube open at our school as well. So, we're lucky too. But yeah, I agree. I think it's a learning tool. You got to look
Definitely.
at it as a learning tool.
Oh yeah, definitely. For sure. Definitely.
Yeah. Well, thanks for being on today. I really appreciate it. I have a whole, page full of notes that I took. I'm glad that you shared a lot of the Chrome extensions that you use, and to help special education students. Really, any student can use these Chrome extensions, not just special ed students, but a lot of them will be available free in the Chrome Web Store. I'll put them in the show notes, which is a Wakelet collection, so that people can access them. I'm also going to put in there, like, I have a resource that I typed up for Chrome extensions and apps for special education students. I'll put that in there. I'll even put in there my resource that I have for Chromebook accessibility features for special education students as well. So there's a lot in there that you can offer and look through. And in the Wakelet collection that I'm going to share with you, Katie, if you want to add any of your notes, websites, or anything that you think is valuable for the audience, then add it into the collection too.
Definitely. I have a whole database of linked extensions that we use. So it's like 10 pages. I will definitely put that in.
I might be linking my stuff to your stuff. It's all good, right?
It works.
It works. So that concludes my show for today. What I'm going to do is share my screen real quick. Let's just make sure you can see my screen. Can you see my screen?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yep, there.
So You can visit the sweettalk.com. That's the SUITE talk.com. And the homepage will list an area where you can subscribe to my YouTube channel. You can actually join the Facebook group that I have for the Sweet Talk. Follow me on Twitter, follow my blog, subscribe to the Sweet Talk newsletter. And you can also listen to the Sweet Talk on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Play, and Google Podcasts. The latest episode and podcast link will be here on the homepage. If you want to be a guest on my show, you can fill out this guest form. I'm actually scheduling now for May and into June. I can't believe how many people want to be on my show and share their expertise with everyone. So let's pay it forward and fill out the guest form so we can help everybody all around the world. And if you want to look at episodes that I've done in the past, go on to the episode list page and you'll see here there's a link to the YouTube video and the show notes, which is a Wakelet collection. I am also updating my Jamboard resources right now. So if you click on the Jamboard ideas page and check out my idea board for Jamboard, you'll see that I've been updating my resources here. You can check that out as well. But that's basically it. That concludes my show. Let me go back to Katie. So there we go. So thanks for being on again. It was really a pleasure meeting you. I'm so happy that, I'm always giving like a shout out to people that are from like New Jersey and New York, because, I it's just like, I feel like you're like my neighbor,
Oh yeah, I feel the same way. Thank you for having me.
It's all good. Even though you're like 2 hours away from me, it's all good. So, but thanks for being on, and I'll see you next time. Until then, thank you for watching. Take care.